Welcome back, everyone. Well, it's reported that lightning is the cause of 3 major forest fires burning out of control in Manitoba. Fire officials are calling this the worst late summer fire season in at least 15 years. National Resources say that there are 40 fires presently burning in the province. They say that although no communities are threatened, valuable timber areas are ablaze. One of the fires is located about 120 kilometers northeast of Flin Flon. Another is 25 kilometers northwest of Grand Rapids, with a third burning 40 kilometers northeast of Snow Lake. And a gathering of First Nations people from around the globe took place right here in Manitoba this past weekend. The powwow that was held in Winnipeg was meant to celebrate the heritage of the Aboriginal culture and share concerns among people from around the world. Anjum Chowdhury has more.
It was a grand entry of chiefs and dancers from across the map. The powwow not only hopes to preserve and highlight the culture of the First Nations people, but also attempts to bridge the gap between international tribes to tackle common issues like the treatment of veterans. Why is there an issue with veterans right now in Manitoba?
Well, I guess how they were treated when they came back from the wars that they participated, and others were given just about everything, and our veterans were denied everything that was given to other veterans.
Gaming among the First Nations people, which is a hot topic here in Manitoba, is also an important issue across the border. Chiefs visiting from the U.S. are hoping they can work with Manitoba chiefs to help tackle the problem globally.
We can't sell beads and blankets all our lives. You know, we have to, everybody likes to gamble, and I think if we have the opportunity to have gambling, not only here, but even in the U.S., that provides an opportunity for Indian tribes to become self-determined and have adequate sovereignty for their Indian tribal councils.
First Nations chiefs agree that youth need to be given more job opportunities. The Manitoba Assembly of Chiefs are organizing a trade mission to give the community a chance at international investment initiatives.
We have a delegation of people heading to Trinidad to sit down with the government of Trinidad and see what we can do in the trade mission.
We've always felt that the First Nations had to be part of that process because in my country we are one of the last islands in the Caribbean that still have a small enclave of the original peoples of the Caribbean, which are the Caribs, the people who gave the region its name. Unlike here, we've never had any sort of demarcation or treaty.
The trade mission is scheduled to last 7 to 10 days. Chief Rod Bushy will be working with the High Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago to choose the members of the team. In Winnipeg, Anjum Chowdhury, MTN News.
Federal NDP leader Alexa McDonough promises that fiscal responsibility will be the basis for the party's next election platform. The announcement comes as the party wrapped up a national policy convention in Ottawa. There was criticism at the convention over what some see as a dangerous shift toward a crowded political center and a movement away from the NDP's historic roots. McDonough says she's not interested in debating whether the party has shifted left or right, but she does agree there has been some movement. The convention saw most of the delegates approve tax cuts, balanced budgets, and a strong show of support for small business. And let the sales begin. An Ontario judge has ruled in favor of Eaton's national going out of business sale. Property companies argued last week that the bankrupt retailer would hurt other business tenants with their closing out sales. But now, even with the go-ahead to liquidate, Eaton's sales may still fall under certain restrictions. Norman Hermont has this report.
Shoppers can keep picking through the bargains. Today, an Ontario judge rejected an application to shut this sale down. Some mall owners argued Eaton's prices were undercutting other stores in their malls, and they claimed the liquidation broke a promise by Eaton's to be a so-called first-class department store. Today, Justice J.M. Farley of Ontario's Superior Court ruled otherwise, stating, "I do not see that Eaton's operating to effect a liquidation sale is incompatible with it so functioning as a first-class department store." The decision does put some restrictions on Eaton's. It can only liquidate what it already has in its stores or in its warehouse. they can't buy any new items to sell.
We're very pleased with the ruling of Justice Farley, as he's clearly said that cannot happen. He has said that the liquidation sales can continue, but under very strict terms.
So the sale will keep going through the end of November, and Eaton's stores are busy, some reportedly doing 3 times their normal business.
I don't like it closing because it's going to give like less places to shop and stuff, but sales are great.
I bought a sweater. It was $150 and it came to $132, which isn't really a sale, but they call it a sale, they call it a sale.
Today's decision also dealt with an application by suppliers of 30-day goods. That's upscale merchandise, such as Tommy Hilfiger. Both suppliers wanted the original bankruptcy order changed to make it easier for them to take back their products.
A judge also rejected that application, and so for now, the doors remain open. The liquidation sale goes on. Norman Hermont, CBC News, Toronto.
Hollister Steer Laboratories, a Canadian drug producer, has issued an urgent recall of an allergy medication used in the Anna kit. The kits are used in the treatment of a variety of allergic reactions. The company is calling back the Anna kits that contain an epinephrine injection product. The Anna kits have a Bayer logo on the front label of the packaging, and for more information, a toll-free line is available. The number is 1-800-262-9162. That number again, 1-800-262-9162. The company is encouraging consumers to consult their pharmacists for more information. North Carolina residents are crossing their fingers today as Hurricane Dennis winds its way around their shores. The heavy weather conditions in the area are being blamed for 2 traffic fatalities today. But Dennis shows signs of moving out to sea. Bobby Harley has the latest.
Sidings stripped, roofs rumpled, and trees toppled. Just a taste of what a hurricane like Dennis can do. But people living on the islands along North Carolina's coast agree it could have been much worse.
Most everybody evacuated on their own, and they've been getting out for several days now.
I'd like to leave.
Sophia Taylor stayed behind, but after a night of winds gusting over 90 miles per hour and 8 inches of battering rains, she thought twice about it.
What are you concerned about right now? Just holding everything together. And I'd like to get across the bridge.
The few who did venture out during the storm found water washing over roads. The only deaths blamed on Dennis, 2 people killed in a traffic accident. As the hurricane lurked about 60 miles offshore, whipping winds downed power lines, knocking out electricity to 50,000 homes. But the worst damage is expected to be right here. Pounding waves eating away at the fragile barrier islands. And while Dennis didn't deliver a direct hit, it's still hard to tell exactly where this one will end up.
I think it's only going to go out here a little ways, perhaps another 12 hours or so, and then stop.
And what forecasters hope Dennis will do after that is just go out to sea and threaten no one. What they fear this storm will do is maybe turn around and head back west, so certainly they're watching this one very closely. Bobby Harley, CBS News, Atlantic Beach, North Carolina.
The United Nations say one of its East Timorese workers was attacked and killed today. The incident scarred what has otherwise been a peaceful vote on the territory's future status. The murder marks the first UN worker to be killed in East Timor since the UN began arriving in May to oversee the independence vote that took place today. Patrick Brown brings us this report.
Shortly after dawn, a steady stream of determined voters was trudging towards the polling stations. With half an hour to go before the polls opened, they were arriving by the truckload to join the hundreds already waiting. Instead of being afraid to turn out to vote, everyone turned out at once.
Today, the eagle of liberty has spread its proud wings over the people of East Timor.
Despite the death of a local UN worker, the pro-Indonesian militias didn't carry out their threat of widespread violence. I'm not scared, says this voter. I'd only be scared if the militias were here. After hundreds of years as a Portuguese colony and 24 years as one of the most repressed parts of Indonesia, East Timor was choosing between staying in Indonesia or becoming independent. The referendum became possible only in January when President B.J. Habibie suddenly announced that Indonesia was ready to let East Timor go. But Habibie's mandate is up in November, and the next president might not share that idea. So the United Nations decided that for East Timor, it was now or perhaps never. The head of the UN mission, Jamshid Marker, was welcomed as a hero in areas where support for independence is high. He said he wasn't surprised by the turnout.
They braved everything from intimidation to weather to terrain to go and register. Now they did that because they eventually wanted to come and vote.
An independent East Timor, if that's the way the vote goes, would be one of the smallest, poorest countries in Asia, says Canada's Secretary of State for Asia Pacific, Raymond Chan, here as an observer.
How do you rebuild a society with proper institutions to govern and to educate and to provide social service to the people? It's a big challenge to the international community.
People may have voted to stay in Indonesia, and if they voted to separate, there may be more violence. Whatever happens, today was the day the people of East Timor finally had their say about their own future. Patrick Brown, CBC News, Dili.
I'm Mike Davidson in Bertle. Sunday was Game 4 in the MSBL Finals, and we'll have more on Pulse Sports.
Summer-like temperatures return tomorrow with a high around 28, 29 degrees. Complete weather next.